Good evening and welcome back to the Dwarven Fortress of Esmulrakust, which is a name I'm going to have to learn because we've only just set this one up. At one moment there will be a brief noise from my microphone while I clip it back on. I think it gets a new name if you reclaim them, but I'm not sure. I mean, you could always explicitly make it the same name. Hang on, I now need to catch up with everything. Blah, 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 loot honeypots. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, okay, that's not very necessary. Anyway, so yes, where were we? We had just set up this new fortress. It's in the mountains. Well, it's on the edge of the mountains. So on the right-hand side of the map here, we have something that goes up an awful lot of Z levels, up to Z level 50, it appears, before you fall off the edge. But we also have some trees, because we are also on the edge of some forest and some shrubland. I think nominally it's forest to the south, shrubland to the north. Unfortunately, we are within the sphere of influence of a nearby necromancer tower. So all the trees are dead, which is kind of unfortunate. And that in particular means that we're not going to get any fruit or anything, which I had been kind of hoping we could do the same as in Keskalokil and live primarily off fruit and booze brewed therefrom. But it rather looks like we're instead going to have to do this by actually growing our own food somehow. The mountains, though, are not sinister, and so while the ground in the forest is all full of dead grass, once you get above the forest floor, you have no trees. Okay, bit for more above the forest floor, but you do have live grass, which probably means that we can grow stuff there. Because the game was a bit scared of me embarking in a so close to a necromancer tower, it warned me that I was in danger of getting early and quite scary attacks. So I deliberately dug a very quick, like 3-room fortress, okay, 6-room fortress apparently, to kind of set things up in, so that if necessary we could lock ourselves in here if anything really horrible turned up. So far though, nothing has turned up, so I think we might actually be okay. Well, I mean, it's only been a couple of months, so what I plan to do now is to take advantage of the fact that we are now not in a hurry to get inside and somewhat carefully engineer the next, the real fortress, with this being essentially treated as an interim fortress that we're expecting to abandon in due course. I mean, I deliberately dug it in soil so it would be quick to dig out, for instance. So, what's our plan for the real fortress then? The plan is that it will be buried in the mountain, as in, i.e. in the rock rather than in the soil, and in the non-evil, you've attached yourself to the sofa, Verity, in the non-evil surroundings, in the hope that that will make us reasonably confident that things won't reanimate. Though
you just have the problem of delving too greedily and too deep and awaking Batrogs.
Yeah, but we are at elevation 44, so we've got like quite a lot of Z levels to go down before we find anything exciting. So I think I quite like this as our entrance because there's some near vertical rock walls, and we can make them actually vertical with a bit of effort. And then we can have an entrance here which could be overlooked by like some siege engines if I feel like that. Based on suggestions from Dizzyat, and what I realised afterwards was actually the idea I've been more or less compatible with things I've been thinking, but Dizzyat took them further. I think we start by inside the entrance having some distance, like 10, 20 squares deep, of what Dizzy described as a barbican, essentially, which I then had to look up. Essentially an area which is not a modern housing estate in the City of London, but essentially a defence for your main gate by forcing anyone who attacks your main gate to come through an area which is purposely designed to slaughter them. So we would have, it would be somewhere where we could, in due course, set up siege engines, weapon traps, ability to flood it with magma, anything else that seemed entertaining or appropriate. But mostly what that means is that we shouldn't put the live fortress too close to this side, which will also mean that anyone trying to dig their way in will be liable to land in the Barbican rather than they'll have to put a lot of effort into digging round the Barbican if they want to get to anything interesting and squishy. It may require a bit of effort to avoid the siege engines and stuff being weak points, but we'll see how that goes. I think initially it will just be a long tunnel. But we will leave a space there for putting better stuff in later. Actually, I think one thing it will do is go downwards a bit so as to give us a bit of headroom and to give us somewhere that's more easily flooded without flooding the whole fortress with magma. So like we'll go down, say 3 or 4 Z levels and then up 1 or 2 before we get to the main fortress. Then what I think I want to do is to try to have a slightly more spacious dining room than we had in Keskalokil, where we were trying to cram the entire fortress actually between the sea salt water and the sea sand. But there was a bit of rock there, but it was quite hard to fit it all into the rock between the sand and the sea. And really, I need not have done that, because the better thing for lining rooms with than in this version of Dwarf Fortress, it's much better to line your rooms with rock blocks than it is to make them out of smoothed natural stone. Whereas in earlier versions, it was better to use smooth natural stone rather than blocks. So actually, I needn't have done that. But here we have an entire inside of the mountain to work with. So we will go down a couple of Z levels, have a nice big dining room, and lots of space around that for storing things, and generally try to make this a fairly spacious fortress inside, at the expense of it taking quite a long time to dig out. I'm not sure how much we should use wood, because we obviously have a non-renewable supply of trees, and I don't know if the wildlife around here is going to object to us cutting them all down. I think the wildlife should be less terrifying than less scary. Diziot says, why is it good for the fortress to be lower than the entrance? Mostly because if it's higher than the entrance, it falls out of the top of the mountain. So, like, if we go up, the mountain actually, we are more or less at the peak of the mountain here. So I want to have some space above the dining room for probably booze storage and mechanisms for running a waterfall and such like. Plus, the lower down we are, the longer it will take anyone to come in by digging down from above. And we want to discourage them from doing that, because otherwise that will be their fastest way in. So I think we go down a bit from here in order to get ourselves clear of the, like, they only have to come down about 4 Z levels. There's this great big plain up here. One thing I'm not certain is where we will bury our dead, because I don't think we want to bury them in the forest, because then they might come back. So the question is, do we try to find somewhere on the mountain to bury them, or do we bring them all into the fortress for burial, given that I kind of assume that most deaths will happen outside. But I don't think I need to worry about that just yet. And last time we did have some entertainment with my laptop running out of memory. I think I concluded that it was X-Wayland doing something horrible, so I'm now keeping half an eye on X-Wayland in order to see if it does something horrible again. So maybe we should actually set things going. Oh, and we're currently trying to acquire extra food by our militia commander going fishing. Basically, I want to see if they can catch any fish. If they do catch fish, that might be a useful interim food source, at least until the fish turn out to be undead or something. So this wall is conveniently 9 squares tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there we should possibly start by digging into the mountainside a few squares there. We're probably going to want to cut this level back a little so that it ends up forming a vertical wall with this level. And then I'm quite inclined actually to cut a big trench outside it and put a drawbridge out the front. But that's all going to take time. We're going to eventually want this corridor to be wider so as to let in a trade caravan with wagons, because I think we want our trade depot to be on the inside of the Barbican. So then I think we go down a level and we dig like a downward slope of a few Z levels. Then we come in a bit further. I'm now thinking that there's all this, mouse pointer size, that there's all this space over here that we might do something with. Let's turn up my mouse pointer size while I remember. Right, now you should be able to see what I'm doing. What's the slope of caravan compatible slopes? I think they can ascend and descend what looks like a 1-to-1 grade or a 45-degree gradient. So I mean, it's not quite. It's actually, I think, technically steeper than 45 degrees because I think Dwarf Fortress cells are slightly taller than they are wide. Which, yes, you wouldn't have thought that you could do that with a many-ton wagon hauled by yaks, but apparently you can.
You've mentioned before that dwarves can haul an object no matter how heavy, it just takes them longer.
Yes.
The same is true of yaks. They can get
Yes.
up the hill eventually.
They just have very low gears. Yes, but we still don't know quite how they grip. So then, I think we then go up a bit more. Up. I think up at least 2 Z levels. Slightly harder to point at a single character cell with a mouse pointer this big. And then we want a horizontal section through where we will have the trade depot, and then I think my plan is that somewhere around here we construct our main dining room, which will probably be, which I think I decided wanted to be 12 squares square. That's not quite the right size, is it? Let's get the width right at least. 12, of course, you will observe, is not an odd number, and therefore we can't actually have this corridor land in the middle of it. I will have to accept that it will not be perfectly symmetric. This corridor will need to be widened out to 3 squares in order that the wagons can get through.
I assume it's not relevant in Dwarf Fortress, but I've heard of the thought of, in an underground defensively built fortress, if you have corridors going in and out of the same room, you don't want them in line with each other. Because then someone can run straight down the whole thing with a battering ram.
Simon suggests we should try to avoid having corridors that line up with one another on opposite sides of the room, so that you can't come in, so that you can't run a battering ram straight through them. Or projectile weapon, which is probably more plausible here. Of course, this corridor isn't very long because it dips down just west of here. This is certainly an interesting argument, that we could thus plausibly slightly offset the entrance to the dining room in order to... I mean, the thing is, of course, that once someone reaches the dining room, we're in quite a lot of trouble anyway. So, yes, I am unconvinced either way at the moment. Let's join it up to the dining room for now. We can always build a wall there later. So that's my kind of, and then I think we want to have one Z level above this. That will be, actually, let's not dig it all out because I have ideas. Let's cancel digging out that square and that square and that square and that square and the 2x2 square that's in the middle, which isn't there. Because I want to put staircases in those places, and we'll have to actually draw the staircases. So I think my idea then is to have the floor and one of the adjacent floors be for food storage so that people can get there quickly. We probably then want, what else did I want to have? We want to have somewhere where we prepare the food, and somewhere we want a layer of booze storage, which need not be immediately adjacent because dwarves in general won't carry the drink back to the dining room anyway. They'll just drink it where it stands. And we're going to want to set up a water source somewhere using the aquifer, which we know to exist, but we don't have the faintest idea how deep the aquifer is below this. We're also going to need somewhere for storing stuff, which should probably have a floor to itself until we get more sensible storage. And then we're going to need to make workshop levels and bedroom levels and so forth. And my kind of intention is that they should mostly go downwards from here. I'm now just thinking, is there anything I particularly want to put upwards? Because we don't, as I said, the more Z levels up we go, the easier we are to dig into. So I'm kind of tempted to mostly head downwards. But then there's the question of, should actually this be the dining room this high up? Maybe I should put the dining room a bit lower. And in particular, maybe we should have storage at this level. Though then we're beginning to turn it into Keskalokil again, where we had a big storeroom at the entrance that just caused trouble. Maybe we build the useful things first, which will be the storerooms. I mean, the thing is that the dining room is where dwarves will generally be. And so we want it to be somewhere central to wherever it turns out the heart of the fortress is. But I'm not quite sure where that is in this one. Like in Keskalokil, it turned out that most of the work actually happened outdoors. And so our big problem was that it was a long walk from the dining room to the outside world. But here I really hope we're going to be mostly underground. So possibly we build into a central staircase and maybe we actually survey downwards by digging down until we find the aquifer, and that gives us a sense of how much space we have to play with. Yes, to an extent, the dining room is intrinsically the heart of the fortress. It's merely that in the other direction, it wants, if the fortress turns out to have a heart somewhere else, we really want the dining room to be close to it. Yeah, I think actually we do this as a surveying run first. We don't try to dig out all that space. We actually decree that we're going to try to dig this staircase, say 20Z levels down. Excuse me. Oh, that's removing stairs. That's not a very helpful button to have clicked, Ben. We arranged to dig this staircase, say 20Z levels down, and just see what we find.
We've got a long way down to go before we hit anything exciting, but that won't stop us giving it a try.
Yes. Let's now cancel that staircase, because what I want is to not preclude an upward staircase from here, but I don't actually want to make it upward yet, because you have to add bricks to convert an up-down staircase into to convert a down staircase into an up-down staircase, and then we cancel. Actually, no. Let's not cancel that. Let's find the advanced button and say turn that into just an idea. This is the blueprint mode, where we might build that one day, but we're not going to build it now. Right, and then we will find out like where the aquifer is, maybe, and then we'll know if we're trying to squeeze this bit of the fortress. I don't really want to try to make the fortress span the aquifer if I can avoid it, into like 3Z levels or 20 or more. If it's more than 20, I probably don't want to keep going down and like spread it out into a long thin column, because that would be silly. In particular, we're going to make the main body of the fortress maybe 10 squares wide. Let's see, right. So that's my initial mining. We're doing some fishing. And I don't think there's a lot else to do at this stage. Unpause. Let's see if, for instance, we manage to find any fish. Let's quickly glance at the memory usage. That all looks fine. So I would observe that I started at about 11 o'clock. At 11:30, I have actually unpaused the game. Right, so here is one of our miners finding out what the rocks are made of. There are a couple of Tearsal peregrines around, that's fine. Well, I hope if we don't cut down... All right, are you about to haul that rock off to the our stockpile? Let us reconfigure our stockpile so that it doesn't contain rock, doesn't contain boulders officially. I should actually have a look at the wiki, because I think it still says that that stone can mean boulders, but they're now called boulders in order to avoid confusion, mostly. Right. We will store no stone in the interim fortress, because that would be confusing. Please leave that stone alone. Oh, is the game log working? No, it isn't. I mean, nothing's happening, but that's the wrong... Yes. Let me just arrange the magic. Right, it might be working now. I will just check. So let's just see if I've managed to join all of these corridors together correctly. I mean, to be fair, not much is happening, so yet. Oh, there is nothing to catch in the southwestern swamps, and that... Well, did that happen before I made the game log feed work properly? You have struck blue jade has just turned up in the game log. Right, so there is nothing to catch. Did you catch anything before you discovered that there was nothing to catch?
Nothing to catch anymore.
Yes, precisely. Is this that you have just removed the last fish from that pond? Or is it that there is actually no fish in that pond? Are actually no fish in that... Well, one of the others. One or the other. Where is our fisher dwarf? Where is our fisher dwarf? They're still trying to fish. They are carrying no fish. They are now trying fishing in the brook. Right. So I think they were unable. My guess is that there are no fish. That because this is an evil forest, there are no fish. There are not even undead fish. There are just no fish. So we're mostly digging through shale here. Are you taking some gems back? Well, that's kind of acceptable. They're lightweight at least. So, yes, that will all be a little while. I mean, I'm not sure there's much else to do. We're growing plump helmets down here, which will eventually form some of our sustenance. We will set up most of the other things we need once we like have a fortress to do it in. Thank you, Simon. Right, so... Oh, our fisher dwarf... Is our fisher dwarf next to that river still? I can't see them. Are they now trying to work out what to do with the fish, having caught it? No. Where are you? Can I just not see you? Oh, right, you're there at a different point on the brook, because you can actually walk across brooks. They're weirdly solid. We've struck bituminous coal.
It sounds messy.
Nah, I don't think so. Yes, the curious thing about brooks is that they are still 7/7 deep in water. Well, apart from the bit where it runs off the edge of the map. Where's my fisher dwarf gone? Oh, they've gone drinking, right.
After a hard day of not catching any fish,
Yes, yes. After apparently getting wet. Ah, because it's raining, okay. Presume at some point the remaining snow will melt. We have some Kias now. They're not giant Kias, and we don't have any books anyway.
yet.
So yes, one of my hopes for this fortress is that it will be able to be a little less cramped than much of Keskalokil was. Another one of my hopes is that we will not build staircases straight down through all of the bedrooms, because while that was efficient in terms of doors, it was also quite efficient in terms of filling all the bedrooms with water. presume you're gradually getting better at digging. It's up to talented. I don't think they started talented. I'm a little alarmed by the way that the trees appear to have just been... Oh! The snow's melted. Some more of the snow has melted. We now have some live grass visible. It's green. Indeed, all of the snow on the mountain has melted now. It appears to melt biome by biome. So I think the evil forest is still, although the sinister forest is still somewhat, that bit's melted, this bit is still frozen. But I think everything down in the south is now defrosted in early spring. So I think we don't get very much of a freeze in the winter. Here it looks like. And there's still a frozen bit up in the north, because that's actually technically forest. No dead grass and such. So now that we're digging up, that was a peregrine, that was. Now that we're digging, that's a peach-faced lovebird, not a giant peach-faced lovebird, which are the ones we got in Keskalokil. Now that we have access to a 2-wide staircase, it can be done in parallel by 2 dwarves. So we've got another miner coming along to help. I mean, it's probably extravagant to build it this wide, but this early. Oh, we found some magnetite. That's nice. And we know it's shale down to here. Oh, and the forest has melted now. Sword, sorry. Forest melting would be a bit different. There's still a frozen pond here, mind. Which we might be able to go fishing in, but I suspect we would find that it has no fish. Dolomite, hematite, gypsum, that's nice. No water yet. Eventually, we are going to want to dig all the way down to the alleged aquifer, because that way we don't have to worry about how we get water into the fortress safely. One thing we might need to worry about is how we get power into the fortress safely, especially in a world that might contain undead who might thus be quite efficient at getting through water. Aha, we have located some damp stone apparently. Damp sandstone, excellent, that's probably the aquifer. Let us not dig into the aquifer. So the aquifer is down on Z33. So that gives us, give or take, 10 Z levels to play with, which is possibly less than I'd like. So it kind of feels to me like we want... I mean, we could start with the top level being being actually intended as a military barracks, couldn't we? Pink Beast says, these hopes of the fortress do make me think of how starting Factorio, I hope all will be order, and while I start in that direction, by now it's spaghetti belts everywhere. Yes. I think we should make this top level the a barracks. And that can also be like where we store military stuff. Other things we're going to want near the entrance. Possibly we have a kind of dry thing, kind of crafty workshops area. So for making trinkets and maybe clothes. We would then, but we want to be fairly close to where we're farming for putting the cooking layer. I think we want the cooking layer to be a reason. No, actually, yeah. I think one thing is that we want to avoid the dwarves nicking food from the cooking ingredient stores before they've been cooked. So I think we want the cooking to be maybe actually what I do is I say
Stop licking the cake tin.
yes, is I actually say let's put a dining room halfway up this lot, and then we build things on either side of it as appropriate. I think rather than trying to carefully count down the correct number of floors, so somewhere around level 37-ish, we could put a dining room. And then we can build other things around that. So no, I was planning to make it that big because I wanted to have a 4x4 block of tables and then a corridor around the edge. And then we'll install staircases in the corners in due course. And that way we can surround this. One of my plans is to mostly surround this with offices. I think we probably want the hospital somewhere near to the barracks. And obviously the trade depot has to be up here somewhere. I think in addition to a trade depot, near the trade depot, maybe we put it a bit further north, further west than that, give ourselves a bit of slack for doing interesting things in. Near the trade depot, we want a stockpile that we use for stuff that we are planning to trade, so that it's easy to get into the trade depot. But that's not we don't need that in a hurry. We'll have at least a well near to the hospital, but possibly actually we just run a vertical well down through lots of this stuff. Possibly we indeed thus have a well in the hospital and another one down on the dining room level, because you can actually just stack wells up on a single shaft. This does apparently work. It's not going to be until autumn that we actually need the trade depot. So maybe I should switch that back to, I should leave that as a blueprint. Will that then automatically undesignate that? Yes. So then kind of my idea is that we would, let's do this in blueprint mode. We would have some, and actually dig things, some access from here down into somewhere that would be the hospital, and then probably it would start off as a staircase which we would then extend into a no, actually we want it to be in the corner, don't we? How about which corner, I wonder? I have no idea. Let's put it down there for convenience. We would have a staircase that we actually dig down into the aquifer, and then we'd put a vertical shaft alongside it so that it's easy to escape. And then if we go at 2 or 3 Z levels down into the aquifer, that will probably work if we're quick at digging it. As in, if we can dig it before it floods. Diziot says, does the hospital need to be so far forward? Well, it needs to be somewhere where we can get the injured dwarves to reasonably quickly. Maybe want stores and such. Yes. I mean, I kind of feel that the siege ammo stores want to be near to the siege engines, which are going to be further forward than this. So like, they're indeed further down as well, because they'll be probably 1 or 2 Z levels above the Barbican itself. So this is actually back a little bit. And like one actual thing I'm a bit worried about is putting this some distance from the dining room, because it means the doctors will have to come a long way, but we can probably turn it into a guild hall for them, so that at least some of them will be hanging around there all the time. Anyway, let's dig out this dining room, which I'm fairly sure is in the right place. Keep an eye on the wildlife. That all still seems boring. The dwarves aren't doing very much at present. I don't think. Dig fish. And relax. Basically, once we have some space, which probably means one of the early things we want is a workshop level in order to build a stonemason's workshop for building tables. So we probably want the bedrooms to be a bit further away, though they don't really need to be like very densely packed. So we could have them only on 1 or 2 levels but spread out a bit, given we are fairly tight for Z levels here. Conveniently, we're getting a load of iron ore here. Iron ore and dolomite next to one another. I mean, that's quite generous, really. So we're going to have to start sorting out coal mining, though, if we're going to avoid being dependent on trees. We are also going to want to make some rock blocks so that we can make a drawbridge for our entrance early on, because if we're actually going to occupy this place, it's going to need that, which will mean levers, which will mean converting rocks into useful things like metals and such. Oh yes, are we going to need metals to make wheelbarrows? I think we need metals to make wheelbarrows. So one of the levels adjacent here will be food storage. Adjacent to that will... I had some reason why I wanted to make this go dining room, food storage, booze storage, and I can't remember what it was. Rather than putting the booze storage on the other side. Let's go for putting food storage above, I think, and then kitchens above that, or possibly kitchens on the same level as food storage. Though we are, of course, going to need to start making some offices. But I think we need workshops first. I think given that we're fairly tight, I actually want to try to put several sets of workshops on each level. So let's go for what should we do? I think we divide each level into about 2 and have so that's going to be like maybe food storage, maybe cooking. That suggests that we're not going to get down to the bedrooms if we go downwards. Maybe booze storage. Maybe that means we actually put the workshops above the dining room. Yeah, let's go for that. Workshops above. No, I prefer the other way around. Workshops below, booze and food storage above. So
Good lad.
it's not even symmetric, Ben. Neither's that. That's still in. Oh, that's probably not actually bad for this to be in thing mode. So my kind of idea is we'll have at least 2 sets of stuff here. We'll have things that run off dull rocks, and who knows, hot works involving metal, and then we'll see what else we need. Things involving food, but those might be somewhere on the other side of the food and booze storage. So let's allow for mining enough of this area to erect some early workshops. Oh, we found some pond turtles. Excellent. Where are they? We have a fish barrel which contains pond turtles, which I think are waiting to be shelled. So that means that food processing is going to have to be a fairly high priority so that we can start shelling pond turtles. So I think the layer adjacent to oops. No, we want to be in drawing in staircase, that mode. So then my idea is that this floor will be where prepared meals are stored. And then either on this floor or on the floor above, we'll want facilities for processing food and such. Let's initially go for the floor above. We might move things around later. But that probably doesn't want to be firmly attached to the staircase. Because we don't want everything to be trivially accessible from the stairs. Not sure whether we want the dining room to be trivially accessible from the stairs, but maybe we floor hatch that off. So let's make like 1/4 of this stuff buildable. Or diggable rather. People are consuming our precious food already. Oh, we're going to want some initial offices, aren't we? So I'm kind of tempted to try to leave open the possibility of horizontal corridors going more or less there. No, that's not the right mode. More or less there. And that's not quite right. Yeah. There. And so I kind of don't want to be putting offices and such like directly joining up with them. My standard size for an office and a bedroom and such is 3 by 3, which would mean something like that, and we could put the door there to save on doors. And this can be where we put things like the mayor's office and the... Oh, that's all ended up as blueprint even when I didn't want it to. De-blueprint that section. I mean, possibly we don't need to dig out the whole of the dining room. Actually, yes, you're quite right. Re-blueprint the whole of the southeast corner of the dining room. So what we do actually want a manager's office and a bookkeeper's office, don't we? So we can start counting things. Let's allow those to be dug. before we can do any serious living in this area, we do rather need to make a front door. So that means we're going to want somewhere where we can put levers. Do we just put them all around the edge of this room, or do we have a dedicated lever room? Kind of think putting them all around the dining room is probably the sensible plan. But if we had them in their own room, it would be easier to like lock people in there if necessary. Hello, dwarves. You're digging this in a most infuriating order. Partly because I kept marking it out in a silly order, but... So, yes, I think I'm slightly inclined to install a leverarium, as Jacob has just named it. I think it is a room rather larger than an office here. I mean, actually, it's as big as it needs to be, I suppose. It doesn't need to go that far. There. And that will need to be done quite early.
It shouldn't be called the leverarium, it should be called the armory.
The what?
Armory.
No, we have an armory. We'll have an armory elsewhere. So then we need to construct a mason's workshop so we can make blocks, so we can make bridges and such like, and generally build things out of stone. Because this fortress is going to build a lot of stuff out of stone. Except once it starts building stuff out of metal. Obviously our mason's workshop has to start being made out of rough stone. We might improve it later. Obviously, eventually this place will have to be paved in whatever the highest quality material we can get is in order to make it a particularly good dining room. But that will take a little while. Right, so we're now going to want a little bit of a stockpile here. For rocks. For specifically non-economic rock, i.e. stuff that we're willing to turn into random stuff. Hang on, that's too much stuff in that sentence. So not metal ores, not economic stone, but all other stone can be put in there. And this workshop should only take stuff from that stockpile. We don't want our stone workers hauling stone to that workshop from across the map. That's a job for the haulers. Dizzy, it says, you have 2 super happy dwarves. Are those the miners? No. Actually, it's our carpenter and our expedition leader. Who are enjoying their friends and lovers and doors. I don't know about the other one. Is the other one also enjoying their friends, lovers and doors? Yes. Well, actually not. Yes, beds in that case. So now what we want is, we can't yet schedule jobs automatically, so we're going to have to do them by hand. And we're going to want some blocks with which to build everything else. Now, our Fisher Dwarf is currently also our militia commander and I think also the person who's any good at masonry. So, can we... That's only... Yes, masonry is not actually a task assigned to anyone. Oops. So we could add a separate... So stone cutters gets you stone cutting and stone engraving, which I think is in particular block making, which is currently assigned to no one, but everyone can do it. Let's add that there. And do we do anything else about this? Do we also add masonry to that task list? I think we do. Our militia commander is asleep in the brook, which is not ideal. And apparently he is ashamed at being uncovered. So they're not wearing quite the right clothes. Mail shirt, gauntlets, helm, high boots. I think that's meant to be enough. Possibly they actually need something that's... oh, maybe they need... Oh, yes, they need trousers. Even though they don't need them for armour purposes. They need them for modesty purposes. Right, I should fix that. Can I just say any leg wear? Not really, no. Oh yes, I can. Leg wear. Possibly I should like number these in a way that means that I don't get confused about which one's which. Let's start giving them new numbers. then I'm going to like remove stood armour number 1 because it's no longer needed. Maybe I should have called it version 1 or something. So sadly, our mason is currently asleep, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. I think our miners are all asleep as well. Yeah, lots of people are asleep. So this level is where I want to put... Do they sleep for days, these dwarves? Yes. They have a very slow circadian rhythm, dwarves do. Once we have blocks, then we'll start... blocks. No, don't haul the blocks back to the interim fortress. I need those blocks. Where have you gone with those blocks? Put them down. Right. Because instead, actually we need a bit more mining to be done, I think. I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter where. There's nothing to catch in the northwestern swamps. Right. I mean, my guess is that the stream is still a good source. The brook, I mean. Oh, what are you? Mountain goat. I think we just saw it jumping. Certainly had some weird flashes on it as though it was doing something unusual. I'm slightly worried by the way that there's so much dead wildlife here. So this is the layer where we want to start doing fish preparation. So let's prioritise that. No! So that we can get a bit of space to put in a fish cleaning workshop. Yeah, we're going to want quite a few blocks. And then we're also going to want... Possibly we should briefly summon the military in order to encourage them to put some clothes on. Some trousers in particular. Are they all awake? They are. Maybe let's wait for that digging to complete. I have added trousers to the military uniform, yes. In having realised that while for armour purposes, high boots and mail shirts meet, this is not sufficient for dwarven modesty. So I'm kind of encouraging them to maybe find some trousers. The miners, of course, are not covered by this, as it were. Right, we do also want to build now a workshop, probably counts as farming, fishery in here, and we can make it out of church blocks now. So this dwarf is going to sort out their armour. All being well, I was hoping it would include some leg wear. Possibly just leg wear doesn't get you trousers. Possibly we don't have any trousers lying around. Maybe we're going to have to make like shell greaves or something. Okay, we'll cancel your orders for now. I'm sure we need other things done. In particular, we would like it says it seems the expedition has no trousers in it. Let's have a look. Oh look, we have 7 pairs of trousers in this fortress somewhere. 1 sheep wool, 1 alpaca wool, 2 cave spider silk, 3 pigtail. There is no trouser problem. Right, we now have somewhere to clean fish. I think we want a chair for someone to use in the manager's office, so we can start properly knowing, and in the bookmaker's office. We're also going to need down here a mechanics workshop. Right, and now there is a prepare of raw fish job going on here. Look there. Someone is processing a raw shad. I mean, possibly I should have prioritised the blocks, but... so, if we're going to make the entrance work, then I think we need to start tidying things up here. So I think I want to smooth that wall now, which may seem a bit keen, but it's going to become quite inaccessible once we start removing the ramps and such like. Right, so now we have some shad there, which like could be eaten or cooked. We don't have any cooking facilities yet. Yes, we're going to need a mechanics workshop so that we can construct the mechanisms necessary to operate a drawbridge. Oh, does that mean we've grown some... someone is planting things. Right, we have grown a bunch of plump helmets. Excellent. Not many, but now as they get eaten, they'll produce more spawn, and that will keep people fed. Right, I'm not worried that we're going to starve now. Dizzy says, you're prioritising the drawbridge. Suppose enemies turn up. You raise the drawbridge. What next? We wait for them to go away. I mean, like, the point is that I want to be in a position where we can start properly using the new fortress. And until we have the drawbridge, we essentially can't really use it for anything because we can't close it off. I mean, we could seal it slightly further in, slightly more quickly, but I'm currently expecting that that's not worth the hassle of doing earlier. Like, I'm not quite sure what will happen. But once we have the drawbridge, we can move all our stuff in here, which I don't really want to do. I don't want to be in a position where all of our stuff is in the wrong place, is in a place that can't be defended at all. So I'm kind of working on get ourselves to the point where we can make this the main fortress in place of that one, shift all our stuff, and then start making this usefully defensible. I mean, offensively defensible is the idea. So now I can ask for a mechanics workshop there, whose purpose will be to make mechanisms out of stone. Possibly now we have a shale throne there, which we can install here in order to turn that into an office for someone. I mean, I think we can make the same person our manager and our bookkeeper, though they might get a bit busy. So yes, at the moment we have the situation where fish, for instance, are getting shipped, are getting carried between the two fortresses because we don't feel safe storing food in this one. Come summer, we're probably going to want to widen this entranceway, aren't we? To 3 squares, which means we probably want to at least make it possible to build a drawbridge across the... Actually, I was going to say across the outer entrance, but maybe we don't want to. Maybe the drawbridge goes at the inside of the Barbican for now. That will make things simpler for me. So that would mean it essentially lowers across to cover up that ramp. But that will mean we absolutely need the lever in place when we install that bridge, because it will default to locking everyone into or possibly out of the fortress. Let's hope we can get that right. And here is our bookkeeper desperately keeping books. And indeed, now we can actually see our numbers more accurately. All right, no, the pond turtles are ones we brought with us. I don't remember bringing pond turtles with us, but... Does that mean the body parts include some shells? Because I know we only have 14 pond turtles. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, well, I mean, pond turtles are food rather than other things. Let's just see where the pond turtles are. They're definitely like stored in fish barrels in the obvious fashion. No, Jutton asks, you can't stock the ponds with turtles to make more turtles? No, because pond turtles are vermin and so don't work like that. Actually, now I'm thinking if we put the, I suppose we can just make it a retracting bridge, can't we? That would work. It doesn't have to be a raising bridge. Because if it were a raising bridge with the hinge here, it would just block the entrance in two different ways, which would be kind of unhelpful. Or I suppose we could put the bridge down here so that it folds down and flattens things in the Barbican, but I don't think that's very helpful either. So I'm not actually going to build this yet. Well, I mean, I can designate it, I suppose. So if we say it's a retracting bridge, can we just build it on those 3 squares? Apparently so, yes. Let's suspend construction of that until we've got all the mechanisms. And ideally at least one. Oh, we've got all the mechanisms, right. I think 1, 2. Didn't I ask for 3 mechanisms? Well, maybe we've got it somewhere else. Let's install a lever then. So use the distant mechanism and let's temporarily forbid the other 2 so that they don't get carted off somewhere. Right, so I think now what I want to do is to invite all the dwarves to a new dining hall over here. Confused. It says overlapping dining hall. There isn't another dining hall. Oh, because we need to install a door there, don't we? That's fine. It's only going to be temporarily broken. Yes, it's not that it's overlapping a dining hall. It's overlapping an office. But that's fine. Do we also make it a meeting area somehow? I mean, it'll need to be extended and such. Because I don't think dwarves will naturally meet in the dining hall unless we also make it a meeting area. Oh, but can I? Oh, I don't know. Can I do something location shaped with it? Not necessarily. I mean, I can also make it an inn or tavern, I suppose. Anyway, there'll probably be people inside. Now we want to build the bridge and then link the bridge up. Then I think we can declare that this is the real fortress now. Right, if you're on this side of the bridge when you finish building it, that'll be fine. Even if no one else can get in, you can shuffle the... is that build? Yes, right. You can be the one that does link lever. Oh, what? Oh, yes. I need to unforbid the mechanisms, of course. And then, of course, pull the lever. And now it's possible to get out. Right. So now I think we could start. We still need somewhere to put some bedrooms. Kind of tempted to put them close to the barracks. Not sure if that's wise. But I think we could now. We are now in a position where we can start moving things into making this the official fortress, because we do have a way to shut it off from the outside world. But it's also 37 minutes past midnight. And like, I think the fact that we're now in a vaguely getting things set up situation makes me feel like this is a good point to stop for the night, and nothing surprising has happened. And then on Sunday we can start like actually making the movie, finishing moving out of the old fortress and designing some bedrooms and having people like eat and sleep and cook here. And so far, yes, it's all looking pretty good. And we need to make some doors, because we want doors on everything, or at least on more things than we currently have them on. And then we can start like worrying about defences and things. But we have at least got somewhere with a front door that we can close, and I think that is an important start. So, X Wayland has not eaten my computer tonight. So I will save for now, and we will come back on Sunday for some more. Until then, save to timeline folder, region 1. Yes, region 1 idle is my is the one that I want to save for the future. So that's the correct place to save, and I can say good night. Good night.